Ladies and gentlemen, the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society, proudly presents to you another amazing episode of 15 Minutes of Fandom. That's right, that's where we take the spotlight and put it on one wrestling fan that we feel stands out from the rest. So, with that being said, I'm your host, that ocean crossing, straight up Boston, flight catching, shot glass snatching. Where's he going next? Nobody knows. Three continents down, three more to go. No cap, straight facts, the worldwide starboy, Remy Blue. But it's not about me. You see, we have a special guest tonight who, and for those of you that followed, who actually is not only a great cosplayer as well, but he's also been how do I put it? He's also been in tag team cosplays, for lack of a better term. He's actually been the Diesel to Shawn Michaels. He's also been I believe he may have been Jimmy Uso to Jey Uso. The other guy playing the Shawn Michaels to his Diesel, the Jimmy Uso to his Jey Uso, was actually our recent guest, Chris Wayne. With that being said, everybody, welcome to the show, New York-based wrestling fan and cosplayer, John
Tabania.
Tabaniad.
Yeah.
How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm feeling pretty good, pretty good.
Wait,
How
hold
about
on.
yourself?
I take it you're Filipino?
Yeah, good
So
job.
where are
Good
my
guess.
manners? Where are my manners? I'm a little dusty in Tagalog, but magandang gabi?
Oh,
Or
that's
is it
perfect, bro. Yes,
magandang?
magandang gabi. Good evening. How do you know
Yeah,
that?
I always get them. I know magandang umaga is good morning.
Yep.
So yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know too much Tagalog, but I know a little, little something. So how you doing otherwise?
I'm doing pretty good. I actually today I spent 4 hours outside learning how to wield a lightsaber.
Oh, okay. I take it.
Yeah.
That's a little hint. That's a hint to what your next cosplay is going to be.
Um, no, not exactly. I started recently like acting.
Okay,
Um,
awesome.
so part of what I do to train is I go to a theatrical combat school, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, so we learn how to like fight, and I'm kind of like new to that. I've taken martial arts for nearly all of my life, but in terms of like learning how to like fight, I guess like cinematically, and
Right.
use like weapons and stuff. Like I'm still like learning that stuff.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So that's pretty awesome. I never even knew that there was a. I know there was fight choreography, but I never knew that there was an actual school where you
Oh, there,
actually learn how to like fight in the scenes and so on, like when to
yeah,
when to strike, when to move, when to Wow, that's pretty amazing.
yeah. It if you've taken a lot of if you've taken a lot of martial arts like kickboxing, like jujitsu, Muay Thai, any of those kinds of karate, you actually have to unlearn some of that stuff because fighting for the stage and fighting for a camera is pretty different, you know.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's cool. That's I wish you all the best for that.
Thank you.
I'm not much for the fighting, but if ever you were in a any skits, short skits, YouTube skits that require a charismatic black sidekick, by all means, let me know. I'm all
There you go. Yeah,
I'm
man.
all open. I'm not much for the
Already
fighting, but I could definitely play a good. I could definitely be the Keenan Thompson to your protagonist. So yeah,
nice.
but so with the wrestling, I asked Chris the same thing, and I normally ask like 99.99% of our guests this question: how did it start for you? What was the match or the event that you saw that made you become a fan?
Um, so I've been watching wrestling since I was a little kid, and
Okay.
there are two things that I distinctly remember seeing from way back, like when I was a little kid. The first one was I was in the Philippines, and I don't know why this was on TV because no one else in my family, as far as at the time, likes professional wrestling. But I saw like the Ultimate Warrior versus Hogan, but I just remember seeing it, right, and like watching it. But I think I was kind of too young to really understand everything that was going on. And then the other one that made me start watching it like kind of like regular was I saw when the Rockers like broke up and like Sean, you know, threw Marty Jannetty through the window. So
Yeah,
after that, then I started getting into it a bit more. Yeah.
man, I now see why they call him the Heartbreak Kid, because that right there was one of the most heartbreaking moments in pro wrestling. And actually, that was one of my favorite. They were one of my first favorite tag teams. No, they were my first favorite tag teams. My first favorite tag team, and to see that, I was just left in shock. I thought it was all a bad dream, and yeah, that was crazy. But you want something that's crazy? And
Yeah.
I think I'm the only person that noticed this. Shawn Michaels has had karma has been the case of karma twice.
Hmm.
Yeah, he did that to Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty came back several months later. He saw Marty Jannetty, and it's crazy. He saw Marty Jannetty through his reflection in a mirror, and it looked like he saw a ghost. And then Marty Jannetty started pretty much putting a whooping on Shawn Michaels, and then when he was about to return the favor of hitting Shawn with a glass object, Shawn pulled Sherry in the way, and she got hit with it.
Hmm.
Here's the fun part though. All that happened in 1992, right? The initial heel turn with Shawn happened in 1992.
Hmm.
August 2002,
Hmm.
Shawn Michaels is telling Triple H, "Hey, let's reform the Generation X. We'll be good with it. We'll be cool and whatnot, and they won't know what's coming." Lo and behold, they do the whole shtick where they're like, "Let's get ready to suck it," and then Triple H out of nowhere kicks Shawn in the stomach and pedigrees him,
Yeah.
starting
Yeah.
off one of the most classic feuds in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
So it kind of went back to Shawn where his own best friend stabbed him in the back.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I feel like if it's kind of like a thing, right? Like no one like I feel like the New Day has done really well with like just going this long without betraying each other.
right.
But but like even like Kevin Owens and like Sami Zayn now, it's like anyone just has to look like 2 years back or something. It's like he's just always screwing everyone over. Like, but they're your
Well,
friends.
Kevin Owens wasn't really that shocking because we saw it happen in Ring of Honor. They were fighting back in the days of Ring of Honor.
Hmm.
So it's not surprising that Kevin Owens came out and did that again. It's not really surprising either. And I was actually looking forward to actually having them rekindle that feud in WWE. And
Hmm. Oh,
um,
they've rekindled it like 4 times.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
definitely, yeah, they have. And I always used to make a joke. I always said that they've been in wrestling. They've been in WWE for like I guess almost 10 years now. To
Mhm.
be exact, 9 years.
Wow, has it been that long? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Actually, it's 10 years for Sami Zayn. Since I'm talking about from when he got signed,
yeah.
and for Kevin, I believe it's 9 years. But the thing is, I always said through all those years, they've had tag teams with other people. They never captured the tag team titles with other people. And I always used to joke and said they probably put in their clause that I will, as long as I'm in WWE, the only person I'm gonna hold the tag team titles with is, Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn. I always joke and say that's the clause that's the clause they probably have in their contract. And
Hmm.
lo and behold, they finally won the tag team titles together.
Yeah. It was the whole. I don't. I feel like it's been such a long time since I've been this emotionally invested in like a feud. like the whole like bloodline, and then Sammy, and then like Kevin, like that whole thing. Like I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Like I think in the span of like 6 months, I think they freaking made me tear up like 4 times. Like it's nuts. Like just how crazy good they are at like pulling that emotion out of the whole feud.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what wrestling should be. I mean, it should be that it should have. That was one of the best stories ever told, and I always enjoy that. And
Mhm.
I'm looking to see how long they're gonna hold these titles now. But then again, and I always said that was one tag team. The Usos, since they started this recent championship reign, they've never actually they've never actually fought a tag team like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn that has that long of a history, because they've been teaming since the 2000s, since before the Usos debuted
Mhm.
in WWE. So
Mhm.
the Usos never really, since they won the tag, both set the tag team titles, they've never faced a tag team like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So I knew it was going to be a tough battle, and unfortunately, they weren't able to retain. They lost the belts to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn as well.
Mhm.
Um, so it's gonna be interesting to see how things go from here on out. So I gotta ask you, man, who were some of your favorites you enjoyed growing up?
Definitely Bret Hart. Bret Hart was basically the first, I guess, like athlete or like role model or like TV personality that I ever like idolized. Yeah, like definitely Bret. Like it was like my dream to meet him and like be the kid that like got the glasses like when you're ringside and stuff. But I mean,
Right.
I never got to do that, but I did end up getting to meet him last June. So that was like a dream come true for me. Um, yeah, definitely Bret Hart. Who else did I like? I don't know how far back, but my favorite of all time is Edge. Now, like he's like my favorite all time. So I remember seeing him. I was like a teenager. I was watching Shotgun Saturday Night. Do you remember that show?
I remember it.
Yeah. So like Edge, I saw Edge, and I was like, "Who the heck is this guy?" And then he like he was just like randomly scream for like no reason while he was like in the ring, and he did the downward spiral, which like I thought was super cool. Um, and then so there was that, and then I guess before that, like pre-Attitude Era, like it really was just Bret. Like Bret was, there are like I know a lot of the other wrestlers. Like I remember like the Smoking Guns, like or like Crush, freaking Duke the Dumpster Drosy. Like I remember all those, but for whatever reason, like none of them really, none of them really like captivated me as much as like Bret.
Yeah, Brett had that image about with him with the glasses and the leather jacket. Man, that man was just so cool back then. He's still cool to this day.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I everyone that feuded with him, I freaking like I harbored like an like a hatred, like that shit wasn't like I that shit wasn't even like like real, but like to me it was. I'm like Jerry the King Lawler, like when he was having his like feud where he made him like kiss his feet, like oh I hated him. I hated Jerry Lawler, and like I remember
yeah,
when he was like beefing with Shawn Michaels too. At that time, I was just like when he lost the belt, when he lost the belt to him during the Iron Man match. I think like I was so sad. I was like sad for like a week. Like it was crazy. Like I was like, oh, he should have just like not went back, to the ring. Like because it's like because to me, I was like Sean didn't win it in the allotted time. So like uh so that means like by default the champ retains. But Brett being the true warrior that he is, he goes back into that ring and then gets super kicked.
yeah, that was those matches that they had were phenomenal. They're definitely one of the best rivalries I've ever seen.
Hmm.
And people still say that Brett is still sour about the whole Montreal screw job thing, which yeah, I can understand. And in my opinion, I'm a big Bret Hart fan, but both sides are wrong in a sense. Um, in regards to that, and I'm a huge fan of Hart fan because if I was Bret, I'm like, okay, well, Sean, if you're gonna beat me for the title in Montreal, Quebec, in my home country, you're gonna beat me for it clean. I want a clean win.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done. I would have gone out in a blaze of glory. I don't mind losing. If somebody told me, I mean, I'm Guyanese. If somebody told Remy, Vince or Tony told me, Remy, you're gonna lose the title tonight in Guyana.
Hmm.
Well, do it, but I will do it in a blaze of glory. I want to be pinned cleanly. Then you can say whatever you want after me because at least I'll know that people got that they weren't cheated out of something. But
Yeah.
people say Bret was bitter. I'm like, okay, one thing I always say, you can have your own opinions about Bret Hart. I'm a huge fan, and he could do no wrong. In pretty much do no wrong in my eyes. But one thing I will tell wrestling fans is they cannot say nothing about the Heart Dungeon. No, you cannot say anything. You don't get an opinion on that. The only
Hmm.
opinion you can get is that it was one of the best wrestling schools. That's all you can say.
Hmm.
Oh, the Hart. No, I don't want to hear you didn't like it. Oh, I don't want to hear you didn't like how Stu Hart trained people. You don't get an opinion on that. That's my thing. Yeah. But I've been fortunate to have some members of his family on here. Well, one member, Mike the Match Heart, his nephew. I've been fortunate to have him on here, and also when I used to work for another podcast, I booked his niece Bronwyn Billington, who is the daughter of the Dynamite Kid, who
Oh
is the
wow.
daughter of the Dynamite Kid. So yeah, I'm still surprised I was able to book those two people, and they're mad cool.
Yeah,
But
that's big.
yeah, that was yeah, it really was.
Um,
Yeah.
I think also going back to some of the people I really enjoyed when I was younger. Um, I would say that Razor Ramon or Scott, rest in peace, Scott Hall. Like he's also one of the first people that like wrestlers that was a heel. But I was kind of like, oh, I kind of like this dude. Why do I like the heel? Like, you know what I mean? Like he's just way too freaking cool. Like he just had like so much like swagger. Like I don't know. And like I enjoyed like his moves and stuff, like the freaking Razor's Edge. And, like when he would like you could like do that, and it's like, oh, it's over, right? Like yeah, I remember that. Like I was really sad when they said when I found that he died. 'Cause, yeah.
Yeah, Razor Ramon was definitely a wrestler to that you just have to sit down and watch. And I really appreciate all that he did for pro. The one, I mean, it's sad that he died. The one thing I'm glad that he actually got to do was to get his flowers before while he could still smell them. That
Mhm.
is, um, get inducted into the Hall of Fame while he was still alive. Get to see the people chant his name. Get that ring. I hope he got into the Cauliflower Alley Club too as well. That
Yeah.
was pretty cool as well. Um, I gotta. Somebody's knocking at the door. If you don't mind, I
No, go
gotta
ahead.
answer it real quick.
Go ahead. Go
My
ahead.
apologies. Give me a
I'm gonna talk
second.
to the chat.
Yeah, Chris Wayne is actually here.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be back.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yo, Chris, are you? Yeah. I remember when he used to like uh kind of like ball up the gold, and then he would like give it to the jabroni like at the ring in the ring. Oh, thank you. And yeah, like that guy always used to be so nervous because like he used to be like like pointing like real freaking close to his face, like it was crazy. Yeah, but like yeah, I do remember that Razor Ramon was definitely like one of, if not the first heel that I was like, oh, he's really cool. Like, and I'm like a little kid, like, oh, why do I like the bad guy? But he's not just a bad guy; he's the bad guy. Oh, sorry. Yeah, does this make you nervous? You like my chill sign? Yeah, you know what? I will say that like as I saw wrestling, as I began to see wrestling as more of an art, um, I started to respect. Hey, what's up, man? You back?
Yep, I'm back.
Yeah, what's up? Is everything okay?
Yeah, yeah. I just
Okay,
had
cool.
to, yeah, had to let somebody in. So yeah, man. So yeah, I'm glad that Scott got to see his flowers before he passed away, and you know, the funny thing about Scott Hall, I didn't even know his name was Scott Hall. I knew him as Razor Ramon. This
Hmm.
was circa 1996,
Yeah.
and I remember I was a kind of fan. I started watching in 1990, and I missed all the wrestling era in the 80s
Hmm.
and AWA and NWA and all that stuff. But what I missed, I read in old. I learned about through old magazines, and I saw that there was a guy named Scott Hall, and he was teaming with Kurt Hennig in the AWA.
Hmm.
And I didn't know that was Razor Ramon. It wasn't until like he debuted in WCW as one third of the New World Order
Hmm.
that, and they said they said his real last name was Hall.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, his name is Hall. All right, I guess that's the name he's going by in WCW. But then they said his name is Scott Hall. So I'm like, Scott Hall. The only other Scott Hall I know is the one that teamed with Kurt Hennig in AWA that I read about in wrestling magazines. And then when I look closely, I'm like, oh snap, that's him. And if you
Yeah.
saw, I don't know if you ever saw Scott Hall. I'm talking like pre WCW because he was in WCW as a Diamond Stud. I don't know if you know that. You probably do though. When he was teaming with Diamond Dallas Page, and him and Nash went way back. Were friends since then. And before WCW, this was like in the late '80s, he had like his hair wasn't slicked back,
Hmm.
and he had a mustache, a crow handle mustache, and I'm like, wow, what this guy had a crazy metamorphosis, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very impressed by that. But yeah, he was definitely a great athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, he was huge. Like he was like mad tall. You know what's crazy too is you think that all these guys like Kevin Nash or Diesel or like like the Big Show, they're like super tall, but then you forget that like Scott Hall was like freaking, how tall was he, like 6'8" or something, like, and
Yeah,
like the Undertaker's like almost as tall as like Kevin Nash. Like it's crazy, like these guys are gigantic. Like I remember I was watching I remember I went actually the last one of the times, I think it was in 2013, that the WWE like WrestleMania was in Jersey. I think it was 2013. Um, we went to see like the fan, like the meetup. I forget what it's called, but like I remember seeing Drew McIntyre like walk by me, and I was just like, holy crap! Like that dude's like every all these guys are freaking ginormous. Like it's crazy.
yeah, it's yeah, it was yeah, those guys like Kevin Nash. I've seen him in person. I've seen Al Snow in person. Those guys are huge. You could tell
I
he
would love to
definitely
meet Kevin Nash.
yeah, I've seen him twice. One time I was like up close, like when he was getting into his car, because this was actually 20 years ago, 2003. It was like smack dab in the middle, like New York City. Actually, it was by the WB restaurant they had with the Hard
Yeah,
Rock Cafe
Times
is?
Square.
Yeah, in Times Square.
Yeah.
Him, Nydia, and Al Snow were getting into it was a taxi, and I saw Nydia, I saw Al Snow, Kevin Nash. I saw him. I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm seeing this guy. Like I've been watching this guy for years, and now he's smack dab in my face. You
Hmm.
know, part of New York City. It's just amazing, man. Just to meet like the biggest thing I want. One thing I will never forget is when I first met Mario Giannetti. Like I couldn't, and I normally try not to mark out because I'm like, I run a pod. Back then I was booking for a podcast, so I got to keep a certain like decorum. I can't like be acting like that crazy fan because then they're gonna think that's how I act on my podcast.
You gotta be professional,
And
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and for some reason I didn't go crazy. I was like, dude, Marty, you like one half my first favorite tag team, the Rockers, and then after the Rockers was the American Males, and then London and Kendrick. I've only had three favorite tag teams, and I just couldn't stop rambling because to meet a guy like Marty Jannetty, even though a lot of people give him a bad rap, and which I still think that the most ignorant thing you could say is you being the Marty Jannetty of the tag team because let's be honest, Marty Jannetty had a bit of title success when he left the Rockers as well too. Might not be a lot, but it was a little something that you could definitely remember. But just to meet him, that was just so like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's definitely a cool person.
I mean, Marty Marty made it to WWE, which is, if you think about how many people try to become pro wrestlers and never make it to any of the major promotions, like that in itself is like an accomplishment. But then to be one half of like one of the most famous tag teams of like all time, and at that time, I feel like the Rockers were doing a lot of like dynamic moves that a lot of wrestlers at the time were just not were not really it wasn't uncommon, like so many people that at that time were like just huge, like brute, like lumbering, like brutes, but like
Yeah.
you see a team like the Rockers, and it really changes your sort of like perspective about like what good tag team wrestling could be.
Yeah, and I remembered. I would tell people if I were ever in a tag team, one tag team I would want my tag team partner myself to watch to study would be the Rockers because they had a lot of brilliant tag team moves,
Hmm.
and to me they were innovative. So I would definitely watch videos of them and study how they did things in the ring and so on.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I gotta ask you, man. Speaking of the Rockers, man. You and Chris. I know Chris is watching right now. He's probably gonna be like, "Oh, geez, here we go." Y'all been Shawn Michaels and Diesel. You've been, the Usos. You know, any chance we could see in the future a Rockers cosplay?
Listen. I wouldn't mind being. There's zero chance that Chris is going to agree to be Marty. I don't. I wouldn't mind. Like if Chris wants to be HBK, like I mean, which he pretty much always is. Like yeah, like yeah, I wouldn't mind. Like like we could even do a thing where like we lose a match and then we get into a shoving argument, like a shoving match on like an Instagram reel or something, and then he just like super kicks me. Like that'd be cool. That'd be cool
Yeah,
for the
and
gram, yo.
I'm gonna say this, and and a certain wrestler in OVW is probably gonna kick my ass if he ever sees this and then sees me in person. The worst thing than being the Marty Jannetty of the tag team is being the Leaf Cassidy of the tag team. That's even worse. That's like I only teamed with you because nobody else was available. Then don't
Yo,
get me wrong.
why you
I
gotta do
love Al
him like that,
Snow.
bro?
No, no, no. I love Al Snow. The head character was great. He
Yeah.
was over the moon with that. But Leaf Cassidy doing this, no man. If somebody called me the Marty, okay, yeah, Marty won the IC title and the tag team titles with the 1-2-3 kid. You call me Leaf Cassidy, that's an insult. That's like, no, that's bad.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, if anyone wants to be Marty, I'll be. Was he the 1, 2, 3 kid at the time, or was he still the Lightning kid? I don't remember.
1, 2, 3 kid.
Oh, he's 1, 2, 3 already. Yo,
Yeah.
he's another guy that like I feel like because there is that era of like where people just like didn't like Sean Waltman,
Right.
like X-Pac, like dude could go. Dude was a great wrestler. Like,
Yep.
and he was just always so full of energy and like hype. Like, he was like a great. He was great to kind of like have like as part of your team because he's just like endless energy.
He fit in perfectly. He fit in perfectly, and I could only imagine his mindset right now because he was he's the only one that has been part of two of the most revolutionary stables in professional wrestling as a whole. D
You better not.
Generation X and
Yo, you bet.
NWO.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought you were gonna be like X Factor.
No, X Factor. You see now you just brought that memory back up. That was a what you call it, a hidden memory. Those memories that are deep in your mind, but then for some
Repressed
reason,
memory.
repressed memory. There you go. You brought
Yeah.
that up. Me, I wasn't thinking about nothing about X Factor. But
You
yeah,
know, like it was the like kind of like undue hate on the guy was so bad that like they coined the term X-Pac, like X-Pac heat or whatever.
right.
Like, that's ridiculous. Like the guy was a good wrestler. Anyway. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, but I
hmm.
don't. I don't like to count HBK end up. He stuck out like a sore thumb. Like he just didn't like. To me, just didn't fit in. Like
Yo, Chris,
Booker T was the
that
other
didn't
one
count,
too.
bro. That didn't
Yeah,
count.
I tend to forget that group. But hey, I never asked you, man. So how did the cosplay thing happen with you? Like, how did you get into it? 'Cause I know Chris told me how he did it, but how did you like end up getting into cosplaying as well?
Um, I, hmm. I like literally just like saw people cosplaying, and I was like, oh, is this possible? And then I went online and then saw how like you can make these costumes without knowing how to sew. And now like my wife actually knows how to sew. We have a sewing machine. But before, like you could like glue like these like foam and like you could bend them and stuff. And so yeah, so like I did I did some like non pro wrestling cosplays before. Like I was like the Red Hood, um, and my wife was
Okay.
Nightwing. That was like one of my favorites. Um, and then I was the Dragonborn from Skyrim, and I actually won an award
Okay.
for that at a comic at a Eternal Con in Long Island.
Okay.
But yeah, so the first wrestling cosplay I ever did, I'm pretty sure was Chris was like, we should be the New Day. And I was like, okay, I'm going to hold you to that. And then like a year later, we were the New Day. Like I was Big E. He was Kofi, and my wife was Xavier Woods. And we were at
Okay.
Comic-Con. And then I found out that later Chris tweeted a photo of us, and freaking Kofi Kingston said we were like majestic. Like I don't think I've ever like felt that great about a cosplay ever, because if you're cosplaying like a not real character, you know what I mean? Like if you're freaking Optimus Prime or something, like Optimus Prime is not real, so he's never gonna be like, oh, you did a good job. But if you cosplay as a wrestler and then that wrestler is like sees you and like thinks you did a good job, oh my gosh, like that's like one of the highest compliments ever. So after that, I was like, oh, cosplaying as a wrestler is like really fun. And then the last thing we did at the last Comic Con, Chris and I did. We were just supposed to do Diesel and HBK as like group cosplay. But then we found out that Rikishi was going to be there. So we were just like, dude, we got to do the Usos and go meet Rikishi. And that's actually what happened.
Wow, what was his reaction to that?
So Rikishi, I think he really liked it because I don't know how many. I think most of the time when people cosplay as somebody from the bloodline, it's like Roman. So I think he enjoyed the fact that we were showing his son some like cosplay love, because like he was sitting, basically we were online, he was sitting for everybody, and then when he saw us, like he got out of his chair and he was like, oh, I gotta stand for you guys, and he took the photo with us, and it was like super fun. Like that was like definitely one of the highlights of basically every, like all cosplays I've done, because it was like me and like Chris, who's like one of like my closest friends. I you know, I don't know how many, probably like 17, 16 years now. And then we met Rikishi as his sons. Like that picture of us is like, to me, is priceless. Like,
Yeah, that's cool. That's actually where I first saw you, because I was like, I saw Chris. Chris had the HBK cosplay. I was like, wow, that dude is cool. He's killing it. He looks like he's a wrestler too. And then I found he
yeah,
wasn't one. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, he stays disciplined, man. I don't know how he does it. Like when somebody puts a plate of donuts in front of me, it's kind of hard for me to say no.
Yeah, trust me, I know that feeling too. Trust me, I'm a foodie as well. But but then after I saw you did different cosplays, I'm like, this guy's pretty good at this. And then I saw the Usos one. I was like, all right, he's on my radar, and now you're on my radar. So I was like, yeah, I gotta get them on. I gotta get these guys on eventually. And y'all definitely keep up the good work, man. I mean, the fact that you could cosplay as a New Day and Kofi Kingston said, you know, you guys are majestic. Definitely keep up the good work, man. So your cosplay has also led you to one of the fastest one of the most rapidly popular events in New York, and I hope I get to actually see it one day. Subway Mania. You guys were in the Subway Rumble. So tell us how that happened for you.
So Tim Rivera, who like owns that YouTube channel, who's the person behind Subway Mania.
Yeah.
He was he did something with Chris for Chalkline, I think, and then he asked him, "Do you want to?" Chalkline is like a clothing company.
Yeah.
He was like, "Do you want to be in the Subway Rumble?" And then he mentioned like, "Oh, do you know anybody that cosplays as Rikishi?" And Chris was like, "Do you want to cosplay as Rikishi?" And I'm like, "Not really, but I'll cosplay as Diesel." And then so they added me to the chat, and then he was like, "Yo, do you want to cosplay as Kevin Nash instead of like Diesel?" And I was like, "Sure, I could do that." So I did that, and then we planned it, and then he got me, like, we were on the train, and then like I was kind of like, I thought we were just gonna come out and like do some like poses or whatever. But then Jeff Hardy kicked me in the stomach and did the twist of fate. So I was like, okay. So I was just like, I guess we're taking bumps on the subway. So yeah, from then on, I was like, okay, we're wrestling. And then, so I was like hitting people with the big boot. And, oh, look, I see Chris is really salty because I eliminated him. Ask Tim why he told me to do that, bro. Oh, you know why? Because he was cosplaying as Bret Hart and he really secretly hates HBK, Chris. Anyway, but yeah, so we did that, and then I remember having so much fun. But then, like when I got home, I had to take like 5 showers because I was like, oh, I was laying down on the subway floor.
Yeah, those subways could get dirty and grimy, man. Like,
yeah. But yeah, so after that, I was in another thing where where Tim asked me to be in the NWO, and then there was like a Invictus show, which is like an indie organization.
Yeah,
They were doing a they were doing a show in the Bronx.
Right.
So so Tim was like, "Oh, come and we're gonna shoot a skit," and I was like, "Okay." So I figured we're just gonna go shoot the skit and then be out of there. Like we were just gonna maybe use the ring, but like when I get there, he's like, "Hey man, we're part of the halftime show." I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, before the co-main event, they're gonna take an intermission and then we're gonna go out there." So I'm like looking out there and I was like, "Oh, it's been years since I performed anything in front of like a big crowd." I used to play in a rock band. So like as
Okay.
far as live performance, that's kind of like what I've done in my life. But yeah, this was crazy because backstage we were like hanging out and like with all the wrestlers in the dressing room, and they're like coming in, they're like introducing each other, and then he's just like, "Okay, so here's the plan. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and then Macho Man's gonna come out, and then we're gonna like have some words, and then you're all gonna beat down Macho Man." And I was like, "Okay." So we did it, and I was like a little nervous, but we did it, and the crowd was into it. So you know, I'm just waiting for the next Subway Rumble. Like maybe somebody will get their revenge on me.
Yeah, y'all do some great work with those cosplays. I've seen like the Dudley Boys. Y'all got the Macho Man. I've seen a guy walking around being Dusty Rhodes. I don't know if he's ever gonna actually get into it. Mike Ramondi. Mike, if you ever see this, keep on doing the good work you're doing. And then there was a guy for the first time ever that did a sweep. Lanny Poffo, aka the Genius cosplay. He was hanging out with Machoverse. I just saw on Instagram. So
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all definitely are doing great things. I'm not much for cosplaying, but like I told Chris, if y'all ever need a Kamala, just let me know. I already got the stomach. I can just beat on my stomach and put some paint
Yeah.
on my face and just yell and just talk incoherently, and I'll be that's
Yo, anybody can do cosplay, man. Like it's about like it's kind of about it's about what you put into it, right? Like anybody, man, anybody. You would be great. You would be great. You got like I see from the way you you have your intro, and I've seen the outro too. Like you kind of have that like charisma. You'd be amazing.
Thanks, man. Maybe one day I'll try it, man. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll definitely try it. But I first, like I said, I told Chris, I was thinking about Coco Beware, but then I can't find. I don't think Peta would appreciate me, walking around with a live bird to a wrestling match. Even if I find like a fake one, I don't think they still appreciate that. So I'm like, yeah, let me just go with Kamal. He's somebody can really get mad at a guy walking around in, I guess, a loincloth and just putting up a hand like this and
Yeah.
just chopping people. Yeah. So you're Filipino. You're from you're from the Philippines. By the way, I
Yep.
love that balut, and I also love that lumpia and pancit y'all do. That food is very delicious. Trust me. If I find a Pinoy spot here, it's a wrap.
Where are you? Where's like what town? Like what city are you in?
I'm in Brooklyn.
Oh, you're in
So
Brooklyn?
yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. I thought you were like on the West Coast or something because of
No.
yeah.
No. When we put 8 o'clock p.m. it's for them to let them know, hey, 8 o'clock we're going to be on. 11 o'clock
Okay,
over
okay.
here for New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
Balut. I see a lot of people like lumpia, but balut, I see a lot more people being like, ugh. But like I like it. It's just like an egg in a different stage.
yeah, you just gotta crack open the top of the egg, sip out the juice, eat the yolk, man. I don't eat the white part though. The white part, I tried it. I was like, yeah, nah, it's not for me. But
A lot of us don't. We call that the stone. Like
yeah,
we don't we a lot of us don't eat that white part.
yeah.
So
But
you're in good company.
yeah, but I gotta say, man, you guys have been adding a lot. Like you guys have been definitely, the Filipinos. I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody's culture.
No.
Y'all have been killing it. Bruno Mars in music. You got Bruno Mars. Having
Yeah.
leave the door open, Versace on the floor, killing it. You got HER, who's half Filipina, and then
Mhm.
in wrestling, you got Joaquin. Is it Joaquin Xavier? The guy
Joaquin
that's.
Wild.
Oh, I know him as Zima Ion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know him as
He's
Zima
Zima
Ion.
Ion, bro.
Yeah, and he's part of the guy. He's killing it in Legado del Fantasma, which is now the LWO. You got T.J. Perkins, who was in WB, but now he's in. I believe he's in was it
I think he's Impact,
Impact?
no? Yeah.
Yeah, you got Fala Ba, but the
Yup.
most successful one of all was Batista.
Yeah.
What was it? What was it? You being a Filipino heritage, sitting down and watching Batista beat Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship and become the first ever World Heavyweight Champion of Filipino descent. What was going through your mind at that moment?
So first, like when I found out Batista was Filipino or half Filipino, but it doesn't matter
Right,
because he kind of like was proud of it, right? Because he had that
right,
tattoo, right? Um, I couldn't. I actually didn't believe it. Like, I saw a sign. I forgot what show, but I saw a sign in a crowd. In the crowd, somebody wrote Batista is Filipino, and
okay,
I was like, that's a weird sign. So I asked my brother at the time because he was he was more knowledgeable about like non-TV stuff, like
right,
backstage type stuff. Because he used to like go on the forums and he was part of the IWC and stuff. So
right.
he told me, he's like, oh yeah, he's half Greek and half Filipino, and I was like, no way. And then like I was like I couldn't believe how freaking like successful he was being Filipino, just because there aren't a lot of us. Like people used to say The Rock was half Filipino, but he's like half Samoan. Like like not all
Right.
Pacific Islanders are the same. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, when Batista when he won the belt, oh man, I was like freaking out. I was like so proud, and again like the fact that he was proud of it like enough that he had it like very plainly, because honestly a lot of people don't really I guess like they're not super like out with that, um like Enrique Iglesias like never really like mentioned it, but he's like half Filipino and um
Yes.
yeah, Enrique
Wow.
Iglesias, Nicole Scherzinger,
That I
I think
know of.
Foxy Brown,
Foxy. Oh, okay.
I think Foxy Brown, Cassie, like anyway, like
I
way
have
back in the
one for
day.
you.
Oh, go
There was
ahead.
I don't know if you remember this group called Immature. It had like three guys. One of them was Filipino, but his name was Half Pint, and he left, and they replaced him with another member. His parents took him out of the music business because they didn't want him in
No.
it. But yeah, he was Filipino, and he was in that group too.
But yeah, like so the only people that would know they were Filipino were other Filipinos, like Apple D from from
Yeah,
yeah from the Black Eyed
Black
Peas,
Eyed
right?
Peas.
Yeah, but like that's all like musical. They like nearly everything I've mentioned right now is like all musical. And to see like an athlete like that was like crazy to me, and like I felt the same way about TJ Perkins, to be honest with you, because like he was also like it was part of his gimmick that like he used to call himself like the Phil-Am Flash. So like Batista
Right,
was like one level of it where and even though TJ Perkins like didn't necessarily like achieve the heights that Batista did, it was still really cool to like that sun, that like sun and stars like motif that's like on our flag, like
right.
that was part of his like ring gear. You know what I mean? Like it was like insane to me. Like it's just like every time I see one of us, I'm just like, yes. Like right now, like Kaden Carter, like oh man, like I'm a big fan of her.
Shotzi. Can't forget Shotzi.
And oh my gosh, yeah, Shotzi, like it's crazy. Like
Trust me, brother. I feel the same way because I'm the way. Ezekiel Jackson, aka Rickland Stevens. When I never forget the first time I saw him. It was I was looking through the FCW website, which is the which was the developmental territory at the time for WWE.
Hmm.
And I saw this guy that looked like Bad News Brown, but like a leaner, muscular version. And then I was like, wait a minute, who is this guy? Looks like a badass. And then I'm like, wait a minute, he's from Guyana? They mentioned he's
Yeah.
from Guyana. I was like, yo, what part? And then I messaged him, and then he replied. And like I was a fan of his. I was so excited to see him when he debuted on the main roster, when he won the Intercontinental title. I was so happy for him. And but little did I know that there was another Guyanese wrestler that was wrestling before Rickland Stevens. Kenny King is half Guyanese,
I
and
didn't
now
know
you
that.
have I saw him like this like last month in Los Angeles. And I was like, hey yo, and I'm in my Guyanese like, accent like, hey Kenny man, when you tell me you're Guyanese man, you there on it wrestling and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm from Guyana. And I told him like, I'm from Guyana too, man. And he gave me a dap, and I was like, yeah. And that's funny because I met him, what was it, 11 years earlier during the same WrestleMania week, but in Miami. And he was supposed to hang out with me and my friend Chris and our other friend Adam. And something came up and he couldn't make it. And I was like, man, all these years I knew this guy. And I didn't know he was half Guyanese. That's wild. And then now there's also Willow Nightingale, who's also half Guyanese as well, too. So I know
Willow
exactly
Nightingale.
how you feel, man.
She's good, man. She's killing over there. I feel like she kind of came out of nowhere. Like I'm sure she was big on the indie scene, but she just showed up on like Dark. I saw like
Yeah.
AW Dark one day, and then like everyone loved her, and then now she's like on Dynamite, like in one of the main women's programs, like women's feuds. It's crazy.
I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her, and I hope they bring back AEW Dark because AEW Dark, that was definitely a bit of a morale booster for the industry, and I hope they actually bring it back in some sort of capacity because it's great to see certain wrestlers get to shine, and it put me on to so many new wrestlers all over the country. So
Yeah,
I'm hoping for that to some sort of show, like for them to make some sort of show like that in the near future as well.
I didn't know that about Ezekiel Jackson. I didn't know he was Guyanese, and it's crazy that he just like that you messaged him and he just was like you
Yeah,
responded. That's crazy.
he is very down to earth. Like I can't believe it. Like I'm like well, he's not. He goes by his real name, Ricklon Stevens. He's retired and everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this guy is a former WWE superstar. Has been in the Royal Rumble. I believe he may have been in a WrestleMania. Former Intercontinental Champion. And this guy's message is responding to my messages like that. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I first saw him and he debuted with Brian Kendrick, then he started debuting on his own, and then they tried to announce him as being from Harlem, New York. I'm like, no, he's Guyanese. Announce him as being from Guyana. Why would you say he's from Harlem? He's one of a kind. Use that.
Mm-hmm.
They did the same thing with Tongaloa. They had him
Yeah.
come out as Camacho and said he's Mexican. No, he's Tongan. No offense to the
Yeah.
Mexican, no offense to
I
Mexicans,
mean,
but
right now, Yongshin Wild is in the LWO,
yeah,
and my dude's Filipino. Although I will say, I guess because of like colonialization, I guess Filipinos are kind of Latino too.
yeah, y'all, yeah. I believe that your country, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I mean you know more than me.
Spain.
You have colonialized by Spain, but you also have people that are of Indian descent, East Indian descent that are there. And I've heard that there are people that have African descent that lived in the Philippines at one point. I believe they're still there. So yeah, it's
That's
technically,
cool.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it definitely is cool. I hope I hope I get to go there one day. I heard Davao is not Davao. I heard
Palawan.
no, there was a naval base there. I
Um,
can't remember, but I know Manila's. They've told me Manila's pretty cool.
Manila's okay. You got to go to Palawan. It's like it's like every time you see those every time you see those like those videos, like those IG like videos of like pristine, beautiful, clear waters with like these like nice mountains and all that stuff. That's like Palawan. Like Manila is cool for certain things, but it's kind of just like a city. You know, it's like a city. There's like a
Or,
mall, and like
or
the
Davao
culture.
City.
Huh?
Or Davao City.
Yeah, there's like also this place on it's called Baguio. It's like a city that's on like a mountaintop, which is like really
Right.
cool. Um, but yeah, like I would say, that or like Palawan would be cool to visit.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be talking to you like, hey, John, where's some cool place to check out, man? I mean, I'm trying
Yeah,
to go to tourists go, take some photos and whatnot as well too. You
yeah.
know,
Just remember, just remember that if you go over there, um, and like your drink has like ice, that ice might not have been made from bottled water. That ice might have been made from tap water. So be careful with
oh,
that.
okay. Yeah, thanks for the heads up, man. Definitely
Yeah,
thanks for the heads up. So cosplaying, man. So I just got to say, keep up the great work. Um, you guys are killing it. I look forward to seeing more of y'all's cosplays. I'm very impressed by what y'all do. Hopefully, I get to catch Subway Mania as well,
thank you.
and hope I get to see it live in action. Hopefully, because I do photography. I started doing photography, so hopefully I get to. If they let me, if Tim Rivera lets me, I could take some shots as well too of the action
Oh,
as
dude, if
well.
you listen, if you follow him on IG, every time there's like one of those events, he he doesn't like put out the location and the time in advance, and that's because of like police stuff. Um,
Right.
but if you follow him on IG and like like at this point, like I'll let you know, like I'll fill you in, like I'll be like, hey, this is coming up if you want to come check it out. But yeah, like he usually, like if you DM him, he'll get back to you. Like, and he's really good about it because he likes to see a lot of people come and watch his stuff. So, but yeah, it would be dope if you were there. Like
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. One event I recommend. I don't know if you go to the Indies a lot, but one thing I would definitely recommend you check out is the Indies here in New York. There's Black Wrestle Fest. It's coming up June 17th. Y'all should definitely let the gang know. Check it out. It's
mhm.
gonna be fun.
It's called
It's
Black
about,
WrestleFest.
yeah, and it's about the we're actually gonna be sponsoring it this year again as well. But
Oh
it's
wow.
like pretty much letting people know about the black contribution to the black community's contribution to professional wrestling. And
Hmm.
last year we had people like this one guy that talked about wrestlers wearing sneakers in professional wrestling and how it started with the Killer Bees.
Hmm.
And another guy, and we actually had gear makers talk about what it was like making gear and so on. And I always say gear makers are an important part of professional wrestling because if it wasn't for them, a lot of the superstars that we see would just be wearing gym shorts and t-shirts, and it wouldn't be able to project their character. That's the same thing I told Chris. I'm like, you got a talent, man. I mean, if you would do great as a gear designer. Y'all would definitely, people would. I could definitely see people going to y'all and be like, "Yo, could you make this for me? Can you make that for me?" I could definitely see y'all killing it. But definitely keep up the great work, man.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we got a few more in the chamber. Coming up. I don't know if like Chris wants to be wants anybody to say it before he can announce it. So I'm not gonna. But like, trust me, like we have a few coming up.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely be looking forward to it. But sorry.
It's all right.
Oh, I thought I pressed. Oh, for some reason that comment's not showing up. Oh, here it is. Okay, all right. I thought I did something, but I just got to say, John, thank you very much on behalf of myself, Kathy Knight, and Rob Bates. Hopefully, I'll get to meet them because, if it's cool with you and Chris, we'd like to have y'all back on for one of our prediction shows or our topic shows because we tend to invite 50 minutes of fandom guests back on. Because we're big on fan interaction. We like to get fans' take on certain events or certain topics and so on. So, but on behalf of myself and my team, we'd like to wish you guys nothing but the best in the cosplaying that y'all do, and sending good vibes y'all way. Wish you nothing but the best in life and whatnot. And like I said, looking forward to seeing the next Subway Mania event as well. Before we shut this show down, where can fans find you on social media when they want to talk wrestling, check out your cosplays and all that good stuff?
So I am mostly active on Twitter and Instagram. So on Instagram, I'm John Looks at Photos. The way it's spelled, very simple.
Awesome.
And on Twitter, you can find me at Asian Kevin Nash.
Okay, I could have saw you had another. Never mind.
Oh, so okay, so I have two on Twitter, but I'm trying to move a lot of my like wrestling related Twitter activity onto Asian Kevin Nash or at Big Boba Cool. And the reason that's what it is because when we were on Subway Mania, like some of the YouTube comments were like, "Bro, Kevin Nash is Asian. Like now I've seen everything," or like, "Bro, I thought Kevin Nash was Shinsuke." Like like so I was like, whatever, I'm gonna run with it. So
Yeah, man, just enjoy it, man. I mean, don't let nobody dim your shine, man. Trust me. I once went as the Blue Meanie, and I'm black.
Yeah,
I had my hair in a flat top, and it was blue, and I had the painted on eyes and everything, and I had a BWO shirt.
Yeah,
so
I mean, that stuff doesn't bother me. It'll take more than that to bother me. Like, but yeah, the Blue Meanie that had to be cool. Like, do you have photos of that? Like,
we actually do after dig them up. It was from like 10 years ago, Halloween 2013. I went as a Blue Meanie, and like I said, I'm a lazy person when it comes to Halloween. Like one time I went as Superboy. What was Superboy's costume? Jeans and a t-shirt. So I'm a lazy Halloween guy, man. Like I'm one of these days I'm probably gonna go as Luke Cage. Same thing, yellow shirt, jeans. That's all. I leave somebody else can be Iron Fist. I'm good. But I went as the Blue Meanie one time, and I actually took a picture of it. And I think he commented and he said nice. And then I actually met him. This was like the following. I think that was Halloween. That time was on a Thursday that year. And then I met him at the following weekend at a PWS show in Rahway, New Jersey. I'm like, hey, Blue Meanie, I went as you for Halloween. Check this out. And he's like, cool. And I took a picture with him. But I wasn't in the Blue Meanie gear when I finally met him. I was just in the BWO shirt, and I took a picture with him. And yeah, that was the one time I actually cosplayed as a wrestler. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
We're gonna get you to do it again, man. We're gonna get you to do it again.
I'm down. I think I got my BWO shirt here somewhere, but I could do the little dance and whatnot, So
if you show up to New York Comic Con or any of these other ones, and like you tell us in advance, we will make an effort to get like a big like wrestling cosplay like group photo together. Oh, it's so great! It's so much fun.
Yeah, man. I'll definitely tell y'all when that happens, man. Definitely will. But I just gotta say, man, y'all keep up the fantastic work. Keep on, enjoying yourselves. Don't let nobody dim y'all shine, because there's gonna be that one person that's gonna be upset that you're having a good time and they're not, or they can't do what you guys do. Just keep with the positivity and keep on enjoying life, man. And I wish you guys nothing but the best. And I'm hoping that you guys get in the magazine, man. Hope you guys, some wrestling magazine actually says, yo, these guys are doing Subway Mania, they're killing it. And I'll definitely be like, yo, I know two of those guys, man. I had them on the show. I'm wishing the best for y'all, man. So, Y'all make sure y'all follow this guy. Y'all follow this guy. John Tabaniag. Did I get your name right? Sorry if I
Yo, you
butchered it.
said it perfectly. You said it perfectly.
Make sure y'all follow John Tabaniag. Great guy doing cool cosplays. Make sure you follow Chris Wayne. Chris, I see you. Make sure you follow him. Two great gentlemen, enjoying themselves, having fun, cosplaying and whatnot. And with that being said, it's about time for us to shut this show down. My eyelids are getting heavy. My stomach is rumbling. That means it's time for dinner, birthday dinner, and a nap as well. To those of y'all that actually wish me happy birthday, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Another year, 40. Yeah, but I'm staying. Haven't slowed down yet. So, with that being said, thank you very much for tuning in. If you want to find me on social media, not that I say a lot of cool things, but I do go to a couple of cool places. I might go to South America this month. You can definitely find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Remy Blue. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it. If you also, I'm also on Facebook under the alias Remy Blue. Our podcast is on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Ringside Society, Twitch at Ringside Society 2019, and we're also on Facebook as a Facebook group, and we're also on Spotify, and we also have a Teespring store where we sell official Ringside Society merchandise. We have T-shirts, we have tank tops, we have hoodies, we have long sleeve shirts. We even have coffee mugs for your favorite warm beverage, and we also have different designs as well too. Actually, the one I'm wearing right now is our Valentine's Day design, and we also have the original one, St. Patrick's, and many others. And we have our luxury design coming soon, so definitely stay tuned for that as well. All proceeds from those sales go back into keeping our show afloat. They do not go back into our pockets. You have our word on that. And last but not least, we have a YouTube channel where you can see cool interviews like this one, like the one we had with Chris Wayne. We also had our WWE Backlash predictions, and we've also had several great guests like Soraya Knight, who is Paige's mom, Michael Martinez, who is Damian Priest's brother, and look at me, I almost calling the girl Gail Kim. Katie Hebner, who is the daughter of the legendary referee Earl Hebner. All of those great interviews and many more you can find on our YouTube channel. All you gotta do is type in Ringside Society when you go to YouTube. And once you see that really gorgeous dark blue and light blue yin yang sound, the blue flames around it, that's when you know it's us. So make sure you subscribe to our videos because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. And with that being said, once again, we just want to thank everybody tuning in live tonight. Thank you. We strive on being one of the best wrestling podcasts a wrestling fan could and should listen to, and we will not stop doing that. To those of y'all that are going to listen later on, we get a chance. Thank you very much in advance. And those of y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really truly wish we'd go away. Well, like myself, you know what, John? I'm going to take a page out of your book. Like myself at Dunkin' Donuts or any donut shop, when they have a buy one, get one free special, we're not going anywhere for a while. With that being said, we just want everybody to know, myself, Kathy Knight, and Rob Bass, that we're very well aware to everybody and their grandparents and the parents of a podcast. But we're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. Hashtag, we are not the same. So with that being said, I'm going to say it one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, one time for Subway Mania, and one time for the ever so brilliant one half of one of the best cosplaying tag teams I've seen in professional wrestling, John Tabaniag, with the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society, and we'll be back next week, later on this week, with another impressive guest on another impressive episode. But until then, we just have 4 favors for y'all to do for us. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.